Tennessee basketball this weekend. You asked the question, are the cupcake games out? And I say to you, yeah, they should have been out already. You only play 30 some odd games. I can handle a couple of cupcakes, but that's about it. The Lady Vols will face FSU, and the men will
Tonight.
face Wisconsin on Friday. So are the days of cupcakes in college basketball dying? I hope so. I mean, there were times that I was on campus and I was there during the, what would 92 to 98 be? That would be Kevin O'Neal primarily, and then
Wade Houston, Kevin O'Neal, Jerry
okay.
Green.
There were literally times that I did not know if a game was going on campus, and I'm a sports guy. Okay, so yeah, I think that if you want to make the regular season relevant again, you play big name opponents. Now you can't decide whether or not they're good, but you play big name opponents, and I think the whole game needs to change from a philosophical standpoint. 20 quality wins, slight exaggeration, but let's say you have 12 quality wins and 20 wins at the end of the year, should be much bigger than 26 wins and 6 quality wins at the end of the year. So you asked the question, should cupcakes go away? I say yes. And I think the whole sport needs to shift its thinking to resurrect a pretty much dead regular season.
I didn't just ask if cupcakes should go away. I asked if they were going away. Are they going away? And the question I think becomes, see, Dave, with the 68 team tournament, it doesn't make, I still don't know if that helps the regular season because so many teams get in. But let's go back to the history of college basketball real quick. Tell me if I'm right about this, and if it's been the same since you've been watching college basketball, because it is for me. You start your season in November playing really soft competition, and then your first real test is like some Thanksgiving tournament you're in, right? There's some Thanksgiving tournament on a neutral location where you play, like, you're in with a bunch of really good teams and y'all all play each other, and that's like your first real test, right?
Either
And
that or they typically take the 1 out of 4 or 5 year trip to Europe. But yes.
yeah, something like that. Then they come home and you play another round of cupcakes in December, and then also in December you've got like two big non-conference marquee games sprinkled in, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
used to be like a Memphis, a Gonzaga, something like that.
Yeah. By the way, the Memphis thing needs to come back. But anyway.
Yeah. So you do that, and then you start your conference schedule. I'm not so sure. Here's what I think is what's shocking about this is the Lady Vols and the men's team are playing marquee games before Thanksgiving, which never happens, honestly. And I'm starting to think that I think in an age of NIL, Dave, I think what's happening is their coaches and athletic directors are saying we need to fill the stands more to make more money. So because we're not going to get as much help from our boosters. So things like signing home and homes with Wisconsin or Florida State in November before Thanksgiving is a big deal. I don't know if you notice this. It's not just November regular season games, exhibitions. Tennessee played Michigan State in an exhibition game this year. They played Gonzaga last year. These are big. They're not just, you're not typically historically, I think the schools like Tennessee or the big schools, you want to play like a really smaller regional school in an exhibition to just help them out, throw them a check here or there, give them some promotion. And I think now they're realizing we can't do that anymore. We really got to kind of test ourselves against big name opponents in exhibition games.
Well, I think it makes
And
it relevant too. So I'm sorry, that was Roto 22. I said I've watched every game during the regular season for like the past 10 years. Didn't realize the regular season was dead. Well, mainstream sports media, it is to some extent. And you don't hear as much coverage, if at all, during the regular season as you do with the postseason. I think you would agree that it's a postseason tournament. Now, the question is that I have too is, what will these conversations be like when we turn to football? Will we immediately start to question teams that aren't playing a tough enough schedule? Caleb, is that going to happen anytime soon in football, like it might be happening in basketball or have happened, as you said?
yeah, it's happened in basketball. I think when you go to a 12-team playoff, you have to put a lot more emphasis on schedule strength going forward. I just think you do, because that's the big difference between the
I agree.
8-4 18th ranked team and the 10-2 10th ranked team is typically a schedule difference. And look, it's yeah, it's going to be a big deal. Look there, and for the record, in the NCAA selections committee's defense, they've been big on this for a good like 25, 30 years, where they've been very clear that we'd rather you go 16-14 and play a brutal non-conference schedule than go 23-5 and play cupcakes the whole time. I remember there was one year in 2000 when Jim Herrick was at Georgia. Georgia went 16-14 and got into the NCAA tournament, and everybody got mad. And this happens. You know how the bubble team that always complains about getting left out every year. That's like, we should have been in the tournament. How could we not be? If you have to make the case to be in the tournament as a bubble team, you didn't deserve it because there's 68 chances or 35 at large chances or whatever. Typically, the team that's left out is always the team that didn't have an impressive non-conference resume in December and November, where they didn't play tough non-conference schedules. And I think the selection committee's been very clear. We'd rather you just go out and play teams. Even if you lose, just play them. And
yeah, so let me ask you this with football. What's your perfect opponent? Brought to you by Tennessee Cider Company, the original hard cider of the Smoky Mountains. Use the promo code HAT. That's HAT to receive some free swag with your order right down below. Available most anywhere in the U.S. That's tncidercompany.com, tncidercompany.com. Mine's Pitt. That's about as low as far as your headliner non-conference opponent. Mine's Pitt. That's about as low as you should go. It's a pretty good football team, but really you should try to have something with more star power like they had with Oklahoma. Now, obviously they're going to be in the SEC, so that's a bad example, but can you schedule a Southern Cal? Can you schedule a UCLA? You need one headliner with some pizzazz in the football realm. After that, I don't care if you play 2 cupcakes. That doesn't bother me at all. Play one with some pizzazz. The fans deserve that.
Yeah, one with pizzazz you have to do. And Tennessee's always tried to do that. And I think that's kind of you don't want to do what I think Auburn is the worst. Hasn't Auburn historically been the worst abuser of just never playing anybody out of conference? And, I think, look, part of this is it depends on what everybody else is doing, doesn't it? Like if the selection committee is going to just go top 12 and go on overweight record, and you're out here playing USC or somebody like that every non-conference, and Auburn is playing Sam Houston State or Texas A&M, which they do a lot too, except for Miami this year, then you got to really rethink your scheduling a little bit. And I don't know how they're going to go, and here's the question, Dave. You have to balance what's good for fans in different ways. It's better for fans, and let's take it football and basketball. It's better for fans to have these marquee games. We all agree with that, right? It's better for fans to have the marquee games. But it's better for these smaller schools to play them, because if you don't play them, they're going to go defunct. They're going to be extinct. Now, maybe Dave or somebody else would say, fine, it's too watered down anyway, so get rid of some of these schools because they're not bringing any value to the sport. That's a fair way to think about it. But is it worth sacrificing some marquee games to kind of keep smaller schools afloat?
No.
Or do you think so? You don't think Dave's the ultimate capitalist, winner take all?
Good luck to you. The Lady Vols used to give tickets away at the Pilot. When you check out, you could pick up tickets. That was marketing. So maybe the UTCs of the world can start giving out tickets at gas stations. I mean, I'm sorry, that's where it is. I mean, if I'm going to get this huge monstrous thing of a 32-36 team mega conference, I'm not worried about what's going on elsewhere. Sorry. Hit the bricks, kick rocks. I don't care.
Dave is the ultimate capitalism. Got winners and losers. If you didn't make it, you didn't make it, and tough break. Fell behind.
Yeah. Tough leapy, said the kitty. All right. So I mean, I want to see those marquee matchups. I'm fine with, and listen, here's the way I would do it exactly. One marquee matchup. So I would pick a team that I didn't really have a lot of faith in being a program from year to year, but had pizzazz. So like the first team that popped to mind would be UCLA. I picked UCLA because I don't think that they're not going to be winning multiple championships here anytime soon, but they have an awful lot of pizzazz, and you get to play in the Rose Bowl. UCLA looks cool in Neyland Stadium. So I'm just picking that one random team. And then the rest of them would be all in-state teams. So it would be UTC, or it would be Vanderbilt. No, they're not Division II. Sorry. Or it would be, I don't know. Give me another one. MTSU. Yeah.
I would do. Here's what I do.
So the money stays in state. That's
for my easy game. I do one marquee matchup a year. I agree. Something like, because ideally, SEC, you got to go to 9 conference games. Am I right? You can't stick with 8.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're 9, so we're planning for 3. So I'm a 1 and 2 type of guy. 1 big name, 2 not big.
Yeah, so I'm 1 big name, then 1 like group of 5 level, like, and it could be in-state or out-of-state. It could be like a Fresno State, a Marshall, you know what I mean? Like one of those type of teams that
No,
UAB.
they might beat you.
Okay, UAB.
I just go back to
I think
it
you got
2005 that Tennessee played Marshall? If Stan Hill, the quarterback, hadn't gotten hurt.
03. I remember
Is
that.
it 03?
Yeah.
Marshall beats that Tennessee football team in Neyland Stadium, and that's not a bad Tennessee football team. Don't play anybody that might get up and can beat you. Those are the worst.
Okay, well, I think you got to do 3 separate tiers. One is a Power 5. Let's just do it this way. I know, guys, when I say these phrases, I know they won't exist next year, but it's easier to say Power 5 right now, Dave, isn't it? Everybody understands that Power 5 is not going to be a thing in a couple of years. But for right now, let's just use that phrase.
Okay, Power 3.
Power 3. 1 future Power 3 team, 1 Power 5 team. 1 Division 1 but not Power 5 team. That's what I'm talking about. You know, the schools that are at the lower level. You got to play one of those schools.
No, it's
you can't
UCLA.
Play you
cannot
UCLA,
play 2 Division and then
schools.
It's the annual matchup with Tennessee Tech. And
okay, but there's a third game.
Form a rivalry out of that, and then the third matchup is the annual matchup versus MTSU, or you call Vanderbilt and see if they'd be interested in playing another game.
But wait a minute. MTSU is a non-Power 5 Division 1 team. That's what I'm talking about. MTSU, Memphis, or those are the only 2 in-state schools not in the SEC that are not Power 5 but Division 1. But that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, MTSU.
But you're talking about a Fresno State or a Marshall. I don't want anybody.
Okay, throw those names out. Throw those names out of your head. But like an MTSU, or maybe, like I said, maybe a UAB or a Georgia Southern or a Division 1 school that is not Power 5. And then play 1 Division 2 school. You can't play 2 Division 2 schools. Then you're going to get way too much flack from everybody. You play 2
Division 2 schools because I'm going to beat them, and I'm going to be sitting there with a minimum of 9 wins at the end of the year, and you're going to have to look at me.
NCAA has a rule where you can only count 1 Division 2 win towards your record every year.
Okay, well then find the lamest Division 1 team.
That's what I'm talking about. What if you play 2 Power 5 teams? Then you can then you actually look a little better. I mean, I'm just saying,
it doesn't matter how you look anymore because you're going to be sitting there with 9 wins at the end of the regular season.
What if you're Georgia, for instance, and you're locked in with Georgia Tech every year, which is not a Power 5 team, but not a good team? Do you still try to schedule a marquee Power 5 game, even though you're locked in with Georgia Tech every year?
No, that's my Power 5 team. Well,
okay.
But if I'm at Georgia, I'm in a different place altogether. I'm scheduling the best, the brightest, because I want more TV coverage.
What about Florida?
I'm calling Southern Cal, and I'm saying, hey, listen, if that Lincoln Riley cat's sticking around, we'd like to play next year.
See, this is why my dream is 8 conference games. I think it should be 8 conference games, but you can't because you're going to 16. So I know I have to do 9. But the reason 8 would always feel better is that, like, I love the idea of 4 non-conference games, which is I like 2 Power 5 non-conference games, 1 Group of 5, and then 1 Division 2. Because, for instance, Florida, I'd love to see Florida play Florida State and Miami every year.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but that's their one, and it's not what I'm doing if I'm Tennessee, but maybe I'm doing that at Florida because I want more recruiting exposure because I play those guys. So, I mean, a different argument could be had. Mine's specific to Tennessee. So what's their non-conference schedule next year?
Next year,
This is what I would do if I'm athletic director Danny White, because Daniel's right. With 12 teams getting in, why wouldn't you take the easier games? Amen, Daniel. Okay,
so you're not there. It's Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, and UTEP.
Love it.
But guess what? That's 2 Division 1 teams that are not.
But it's not a good. But it's not a good Division 1 team.
But that's the point. Okay, here's a question. If you're Tennessee, how about this? For that lower level Division 1, would you ever do home and homes with Memphis anymore in football? Given the fact that Memphis is now actually a decent football program, so you can't just blow them out like you did every year, except that 1 year in '96 that they don't stop talking about. Because you can recruit.
Not that it touched a nerve or anything for the Memphian Caleb Calhoun.
Oh no,
Lord.
They still have signs up. 21-17, 1996, guys. It's really funny. Would you play them?
I would seriously try to schedule a second game with Vanderbilt to get more recruiting exposure in the Nashville area. Would they let you do that?
Memphis recruiting is better than Nashville recruiting, and the data backs me up on that.
That's very true. We've heard that before.